So what we were discussing here, first I will write this. What is this? Here what I am doing in this line, declaring a variable. What is this line? Initializing a variable. So okay, so variable is created here, there is no value in that. Here I am giving that value, correct? Without a value I can create a variable, right? And also we have another way, while creating I can give the values also, correct? Declaring and initialization together, two forms are there, right? Same concept in object. How we can create an object? How can I create object? Class name, object name, string is a class, right? Okay, new string, that is the constructor, class name plus bracket. Okay, string is a class, that is why I am giving like this. We discussed about creating string in this format, correct? Correct? We discussed about string creating in this format. This is actually, I am not creating an object here. Creating object, what is the syntax of creating object? New and constructor. So I am not creating object here. There is a difference between variables and object. I said we will discuss that later, right? So today we will start with that topic. So this is actually what? The selected portion. Actually the selected portion is what? Is that an object? It will act as a variable. Because I am not creating object, I will give you that idea clearly. So I have created object also, correct? Is there any value in this string 1, str1? Why? If I have some value, where I will pass that value? So how can I give the value right now? Str dot, what dot? Str means only one item is there, right? So like str is a class, but it is not containing different variables, correct? Whatever class we are creating, it contains different fields. That is why we are pointing out one field and adding the value there, correct? String means it cannot contain multiple data, so only one data, string data. All the data types are like that only, right? Integer, only one data it can hold, correct? Getting my point? So here str is the object equal to str1 is the object equal to, I can give the data, correct? So I am giving value here. So what is happening in this line? Creating the object where we are initializing here. In the concept of normal class, what we did, we created the object using default constructor. So when I will use default constructor, when I don't have to initialize object, I can use default constructor, so it will just create the object, it will not initialize. Then after that I have to write one by one line of code. Here what is the class we have? Student, right? Student std I am taking equal to new. How can I create the object? Student of, like student bracket, then okay. Then what we have to do? What is in this line? What is happening in this line? Creating the object. Are we initializing any value? Then how we can initialize the value? Std dot, we have to choose the variable, instance variable. So in this std object we have right now how many fields? 3 fields. Here we have only 3 fields in this program. Can you see the screen? Okay, this anyway it will not zoom. So how many fields are there? id, I can give id value, correct? So here we are writing the initial values to that variable, correct? So creation of object and initialization is in different line. So for that we can use what? Default. If I have to initialize and creation and initialization together, then we have to use parameter constructor. See, I don't have to explain this differently, right? You have to realize it. Correct. That is what we discussed yesterday also. So, any doubt in this? So, instead of giving the value separately, we can give the value inside the constructor. So, parameterized constructor will help us to initialize the values into the variables of the object. Fine? Any doubt in that? Can I remove this line? Any doubt? Yes or no? Okay. Then, is there any difference between these two items? So as per we discussed, we can give this value inside here also, right? If there is a parameterized constructor, then I can use. So string have parameterized constructor. You can see a default constructor is there. Parameterized constructor with a byte data, byte array, character array, string. So lot of things you can see here. These all are different forms of constructors. Different forms of constructors. You can see all the parameters of the constructor is different, right? Parameters. See, none of the parameter is repeating in the constructor. All parameters are different parameters. Getting what I am saying? Parameter, what is a parameter? Understanding or not? Okay. So all the parameters are different, right? Okay. So we are right now we are choosing string data. We are giving string data onto this area. Fine. So is these two items are equal? Why? One is, this is what? Variable. Why? It is not creating an object, it is just referring, right? This class is there, str is referring to this class, and we are giving a value. So this is a variable actually. Here what we are doing, this part is what? str1 is still referring to string. str1 is still referring to string, same as this first line. But what we are initializing, this part is what? It is creating an object. New keyword with the constructor will create an object. So that object will be in a new memory location. Correct? So this, okay, so you can consider one thing. Here variable is in one memory pool. Variable, I am just giving you that idea as simple as possible. Like it is similar to what exactly happening. So you can consider one pool is there. Pool of memory is there where variable kind of items will be stored. And another pool of memory is there. Are you understanding what is pool of memory? Right. So another pool of memory is there where object data will be stored, and every time when I am creating a new object, in that pool one new location will be allocated. So it is in a different pool. You can consider in that way. Getting what I am saying? That memory area is divided. One memory area is using for normal variables. Normal variables. Another memory area is there where we are storing objects. To make this concept clear, I am just giving you this idea. This is similar which is happening really. So if I am creating a variable, the data will be allocated into the variable pool. So consider we have a memory pool starting from here to here. Getting my point? So first memory location I am just taking randomly. Here I am going to store what is the data which we are storing first. Correct? This is a string data. So I am just representing double quotes also, but double quotes, these kind of things are not there in memory. Correct? So Ajin is there. This is storing in first location, like one memory location. and this is called, this is variable pool. Like here we are storing all the variable items, variable data. Then we have another pool which is, you can consider it as object pool. There is another representations also, you don't have to go in depth. I'm just giving you this idea because this is important. This idea is important. There is a difference between variable and object. That idea I am trying to give you. So here in one memory location I am storing Ajin. Any doubt in this? Okay. So next what I will do is, when I am creating another variable str2, right? 2 I can create equal to same Ajin. Will this data create a new memory location? What is this? What are this? What is this 2 item? Variables, right? There is a concept in variable. If one item is allocated in a memory, if again I am using another variable to point the same data, I will not create the same data again. This variable also will point to the same memory location. Concept is clear? So str will point to this memory location where the data is stored. Again I am using another variable, right? Again I am using another variable which is also pointing to the same data. So it will first check the same data is available in that variable pool or not. Our computer will first check variable, this same data is available in that variable pool or not, because this is also variable, right? I am not creating object. So it will first find out the data in the pool, and this variable also will point to the same, this variable will also point to the same memory location. So which according to our example, which memory location this data will share, like not sharing, point, what is that value? 1, correct. And what about this one? This will also point to the same memory location, because that same data is already there. I don't have to create another memory location for that. Getting what I am saying? Everyone? Any doubt in this? If it is a variable and already the data is there in the variable pool memory area, it will point, the second variable also will point to the same memory location. So, oh, what happened? Okay, same memory location. Getting my point? So it is not creating a new memory location for the same data. Understanding? Then what about this one? What is this? This is object, right? What is the use of new keyword? It will create a new memory location where I can store the object. Correct. It will allocate a new memory location. There I will create the object. Object creation is using by constructor. Getting my point? So in our memory we have object pool. Here new keyword will find out. I am just taking randomly one data. I will take something like this. One memory location is there. That new keyword is allocating this memory location for str1. So str1 will point to this memory location. Getting my point? There we will create the data. What is the data we are storing? Correct? Same data, but new keyword is using, and we are creating the object. So this will be there in different memory location. Clear? Everyone? Object always will create a new memory location, and there the object will be created. It will focus on one memory location, and there it will create the object. Getting my point? Yes or no? Then after this, if I am creating string str3, correct? So different variable, that's it. the different variable name I am using. So new string, again same, there is no difference in characters also, right? All the datas are same. So this I am storing, like this I am creating. These two items are what? Objects. So this memory location is what? 1 0 2 2 3, right? Okay, so what will be the memory location of this one? Will that be same as this? No. That is the important point you have to understand. So when I am creating object, it will create a new memory location. There we will create the object. When I am creating different object, this is different object, right? If I am creating different object, another new memory location will be pointed, and there we will create the object, and the object value is same, but that does not matter. That is why we cannot compare. That is why we cannot compare str1 equal to str2. What is str1 and what is str2? Equal to is using for what? Comparing. It is not comparing the value actually. Actually it is not comparing the value. It is comparing the memory location. Getting my point? Equal to symbol will only compare the memory location, and it will work for all variables. It will work for all variables, right or wrong. Same data, if I am pointing number 10, value 10 using number 1, value 10 I am getting in number 2 also, it will not create a new memory location. Both number 1 and number 2 will point to the same memory location. So if I am using equal to what I will get? True. Correct. If I am comparing two same memory location, what I will get? True. That is why we are getting true. So it will work for all variables, but in the case of object, we cannot compare objects using equal to, because it is comparing memory location. Memory location always it is different. Even though the datas are same, here the memory location of this object and memory location of this object is different. That is why we are not supposed to use equal to for comparing strings. What we have did for comparing strings? Equals. Dot equals method is there. So we will take the value of one string and we will compare with the value of another string using dot equals. Getting this difference? Is this clear? So equal to is comparing memory location. So tell me what will be the result or answer to these comparisons. So tell me what will be the answer to these items. What is the first answer? Why? Why it is true? Both are variables, so both will point to same memory location. So we will compare two same memory location, we will get true. Good. Then next one. Why it is false? I am comparing str3 with str. What is str3? Object. And what is str? it is a variable, so it will be anyway in different memory location, where whenever I am creating an object, it will create in a new memory location, so I cannot compare that. What we will get here? False. Fine. What is this? str1 and str2, same thing, same of this, right? Same as this one. Then what is this? True or false? str1 I am comparing with str2, str1, str2, but comparing, what I am using to compare? Dot equals. Dot equals will give true or false value based on the comparison. So what we are comparing here, we are not comparing the memory location. Here we are comparing the values. So we will get true. Then what about this one? What I am doing here? Like if I am using dot equal to, it's okay. If I am using dot equal to, that means I am not comparing memory location. I am comparing data. Correct. Even though it is a variable or object, if I am using dot equal to, that means what I am comparing the values. If I am using equal to, that means what I am comparing the memory location. Simple logic. So you can check what is the items performing in equal to. What is the item? Like you, if it is dot equal to, you don't have to think about whether it is variable or object. You can just check the values. Getting what I am saying? So if I am giving like this, I made a change. I made a change here. Tell me what will be the output of this line. Only this line you have to focus actually. Correct. Why? Why? Ajin and Ajin, right? What is the problem here? Is this same two datas? No, then it will not point to the same memory location. It will create a new memory location in the pool. So a new memory location will be taken by this. I'm just giving you some random idea to understand the logic. So here we will create the new data. So let's compare this. What will I get? We have to check that, right? So what we are getting here? Correct, right? We are comparing the variables. So right now this is not same memory location. So we are comparing memory location and finding that. But while we were discussing these things in first module, if I am explaining this idea, you will not understand. Correct. That is why we were discussing that now. Because here in first module our focus is just to this value. If the values are not same, I will like our thought was what? We are checking the data. But actually we are not checking the data, we are comparing the memory location. So that is the difference between variable and object. Any doubt in this? Clear, right? Okay. Just check again, no problem, you can take time. Tell me if you have any confusion in this. What is the output of this line? Why? We are using equals. Equals anyway will compare the values. So and also one another thing is there, we will not consider the case difference. If we are not considering the case difference, then the items are same only, right? Getting my point? Yes or no? So these items will be same if I am comparing with dot equals ignore case. Dot equals ignore case. Any doubt? Can I compare with the compare to? What is compare to? What is compare to? What is the difference between equals and compare to? String method. Equals will give Boolean value. What is the result of compare to? 0 1 0. Is that 0? Yes, correct. Louder. 0 will come. When 0 will come? If both are equal, then we will get 0. If one data is greater, like first data is greater and second data is lesser, then what we will get? You can simply do one thing: greater value minus lesser value. What we will get? Positive or negative? Positive. If first data is less value and value in the sense, what is value? ASCII value only, right? Getting my point? So difference between the ASCII value. First data is lesser and second data is greater. What will I get if I am subtracting? Negative. That's it. So compare to will give. So tell me what will be the result of this one. So if compare to is giving positive, like positive data, negative data, or 0, then what I will get here? Why? Negative. Okay, negative is fine. Negative. What data? Negative. Then what data I will get? What data will be there in negative? Minus 32. Why? Capital A is 65, small a is 97. Okay, so the difference is what? Minus 32. Correct? Same logic, right? Small value minus big value. The difference is minus 32. So if I am giving A here and here capital A, then now it is clear, right? Can I use compare to ignore case? What will I get? 0. Why? What is compare to ignore case? We will not think about the case difference. We will check only the value difference. Value means character difference. So here I can see A and A. There is no character difference in that. Case we are not considering. So all the characters are same to these characters, right? So is there any difference? No. So the difference will be what? 0. Correct? Clear? So are you understanding what is the difference between variable and object? Any doubt in this? Variable and object. Can we compare two objects using equal to? No, right? Getting my point? Okay. So right now I will give you one additional task. We did yesterday users, right? User class. What we did inside user class? What we did, how many variables we used? Can you just give me that idea? Int id, then string name, then int age, then char gender, then string email. Okay, this is an additional task I am giving. Okay, so my task is you have to find out which, like you know how to create n number of users using user array, correct? User array and for loop you can use to get the n number of users from our console, correct? N number of, how to take n number of users from console, you know that. So after doing that, already that program is ready with you, I think, right? We already did that yesterday, I think. No, I given that as like homework, right? books I given. Okay, user we did. Okay, fine. So in that program you have to create some methods. So the method name is, some methods you have to add, you can add that in user class. Okay, so the method name is get older user or elder user. Okay, get elder user. What is get elder user means? Age of each user and find out the elder one. So what will be the input to this method? What data is required to find out the elder user? Just age. If I am giving one age to this method, what it will find out? Where you are storing all the details about the user, all different users, like all the details about different users, where you are storing that? Array, right? So you have to pass the array. Then only you can go through each user and check what is the age. Concept is same as how we are finding max number. Okay, you don't have to think this is a different item, different logic. You don't have to use any different logic. Concept is same as what? Finding the max element. But here we have to track the age and find out the name. That's it. That is the only difference. This is an additional task I am giving. Today you can work out this and we will discuss that tomorrow. So what is the input required? How can I write that here? Parameter. Tell me what is, how can I write that array declaration? Like not declaration, array data type. The data type of the array. What is the data type? User, correct, good. User bracket. So you have to take a variable like that is there in declaration of your method. You have to declare the method inside your user. You can declare this as static method. I will give you the idea of what is static method today. What is static keyword? That idea I will give you today. So this method you can create as static. And what is the return type? Input is this, like parameter type is this. Return type is what? What you have to do with this method? No, we don't have to get all the age. Think. Details of the name is enough. Get name of elder user. So what is the return type? String. Any doubt? Return type will be what? String. If I am saying I have to get all the details, then what I can use as return type? Object. Good. Correct. All the details is storing where? In the object. So I can give that object back to the method where we are calling this method. So you have to write this implementation inside this user class. And we will call this from main method. And this method should be static. I will give you the idea of what is static and what is not static methods. What is the difference? Because right now, whatever method we are creating inside the blueprint class, actually we are creating that as non-static. Only this one I told you to create in static format. Correct. I already said if it is necessary, then we will create that as static, or we will create it as, by default we will create all the method as non-static. Non-static items will be created inside the object. So blueprint is using for what? What is the use of blueprint? Why we are creating blueprint class? That is my question. to to create the object, right? To make the basic idea, and using that idea what we are doing, creating the object. So blueprint class is using for creating the object. So whatever we are giving here will be created inside the object. How many fields are there? 5. These 5 fields will be created inside the object. I can also give, like we have given constructors, toString method, right? I can even add more methods, normal methods. Getting what I am saying? Normal methods I can add in this blueprint class. All these items will be created inside the object. Understanding what I am saying? So in your class, I think, I will show you how to create the, like usually every time we will not create constructor by typing. Yesterday also I said, right? We will, if we are working with a big project, we will not get time for typing all these things. So we can go to source. I'm selecting this portion. Here I have to create the constructor. We can go to source, generate constructor using fields, select all the fields which is required, generate. Okay, getting my point? We don't have to type that one by one. If I am showing this first day, you will not do anything, you will not learn anything. Correct? Because if I am working with an IDE, these things are possible. If I am not working with an IDE, then we have to type it manually. We should know what is writing, what we are writing in each line. Correct? Why we are writing, what we are writing, this idea we should get. That is why I given all the ideas. See, you can see the parameter list. All the names are same as our instance variable. And we are using this keyword. What is use of this keyword? Pointing to the instance variable. So you can see the color change also. Correct? If this keyword is not there, the color is changed. So right now this email is pointing to which one? Parameter. This is also parameter. So parameter data I am storing in parameter. What change will happen? Nothing. That is why it is showing yellow warning symbol. What is the warning? The assignment to variable email has no effect. Correct? Getting my point? So we have to use this. So this keyword will point to the instance variable, and whatever parameter value is there, we are storing that into this instance variable. Instance variable means what? Instance is what? Object. So to that object, particular object, we will create, first we will create the object, right? So what object we created, into that object, into that particular field, we are storing the data. Class is just an idea for creating the object. So this constructor also will be inside the object. Getting my point? Everything, whatever we are creating inside the class as non-static elements, that is a point. Whatever I am creating inside the class as non-static element, that will be created inside the object. Clear? Whatever I am creating inside the class as non-static elements. Non-static elements means what? We will not use static keyword. Without using static keyword, whatever we are creating inside the class will be created inside the object while creating object. While creating the object, all these items will be included in that object. Non-static elements will be included in that object. So all the non-static elements, you can say object elements. Elements of the object. Any doubt? Clear? Fine. So are you understanding this one? What to do in this method? So this you have to create a static input will be user array, you have to call this method from main method. Where is our main method? That is in different class, right? What will be the class name? I think it is user main. User main. So inside user main you created main method. From that main method, you can create all the user from console. With the help of console you can create all the user. Already you did that, right? So at last, after collecting all the data into the array, you can pass the array into this method, so that this method will give you the name of elder user or all the details about elder user. Getting my point? It is just an additional task I am giving. You have to perform this. Even another idea also I will give. Age is there. You have to print. Okay, elder user means actually age, right? We are comparing age. Correct. Okay, so I will give one more thing. Get, what we can use here. Get names of male users, right? We can do that, right? Male users. So what will be the input to this method? What will be the output to the output for this method? Input will be array, same array, user bracket. Then output will be what? String. Good, because we have to collect all the names, all the male user names I have to collect into one string. Then I can give that string back to the method call. Any doubt? So these two things I am giving as extra. This also you can create as static content. So if it is a static, like if it is a non-static content, if I have a non-static method, how can I call that method? Where this method is going to create non-static method. That data item, the data member will be inside the object, right? So how can I call that object? How can I call that method? Object name dot method name. Getting my point? If it is a non-static item, how will I call that method to perform? Object dot method name. If it is a static item, static items will not create inside the object. It will be reside inside the class itself. Getting my point? There is a difference. I will explain that also, but are you understanding right now this point? Static contents, whatever static items I am creating inside a class, that will be class contents. That will not be act as object items. Object item and class items. Static and non-static. Non-static elements will be inside the object. Static elements will be inside the class. Fine. Any doubt? So static and non-static we are going to discuss right now. Okay. So I have a class. I have a class here. How many objects I can create of this class? N number. So I am taking object C1, C2, just some objects I am taking. Fine. If I have a variable int number or int number, equal to 10. What is this item? Variable. Is that instance variable or class content? What is mean by instance variable? It is instance variables are not class items. Is that a static item? I can refer static here. So I am not referring static. That means is that a static item? No. What is that? If it is not a static, then what is that remaining? Only true or false kind of. If it is a static, then it will not be a non-static element. If it is not a static, getting my point? So this is static or non-static? Non-static means if I am creating object, this object will contain number and the value is what? 10. So this object contains number and the number is what? 10. Same thing will be there for, correct? Any doubt? For n number of objects, for all the objects, this will be there inside the object. I'm also creating static int data equal to 100. What is the difference between these two lines? Non-static and static. Fine. So when I am creating object of this class, how many data elements this object will contain? 1. Why? One is static and one is non-static. I already said only non-static elements will be created inside the object. Static elements will be reside inside the class. Any doubt? So static elements will be common for all the objects. Common. This item will be, because it is a class data, right? Class data means what? It is not private to C1. For C1 the data is what? 100. For C2 the data is what? 100. Getting my point? Can I change number of C1? If I am saying after some time C1 dot number equal to 5, C2 dot number equal to 8. Getting my point? So what will be the change in this value? It will become 5, right? What will be the change here? 8. Any doubt? Any doubts? So still number is what? Like number of C3 is what? 10. These items, non-static items, are private to the object. Correct? Whatever changes making in that value, that will reflect in only for this one object. This data is changed here. That data is not changing. Like if because of this data is changed, this data will not affect that, right? Because it is in different object. Non-static elements are private to the object. Static elements are public to the object. If C1 is changing, if C1 dot, like I cannot say C1 dot data, I can say class name dot data, and C1 is changing it. Consider. Getting my point? We are changing this data to 50. Class name dot data. In that way I can access static content. Static contents are class contents. So class name dot variable name or method name, anything. Class name I will use for reference. Here we are using object. Getting my point? So static contents we will use class name dot data, and I am changing 50. At that time I was working with the C1. Fine. So what will be the data in variable? It will change because it is changing here, right? So it will change to 50. Right now, this is actually of class content, right? So from C2, if I am seeing data, what is the data value? Why it got affected? Because it is not a private data of one object. It is a public item for all the objects of the same class. So from this class I created 3 objects. For these 3 objects, that one data is sharing. So if one object is making some difference in that value, it will reflect for all the objects, because we are changing that in class. Getting my point? How many of you are not understanding this? Can you please raise your hands? Okay. Simple. I purchased some chocolates. I'm giving that chocolates to you. Half of that, like you can consider 100 chocolates I purchased, and 50 chocolates I will keep here, and I am giving, how many participants are there? 30. So I will give 1 chocolate each to everyone. 1 chocolate each. So you are holding right now how many chocolates? 1, right? How many chocolates are there here in table? Half of the chocolate. Okay, I already said half, right? So 50 is already there. I given 32. I distributed 32, I think, right? 32. Correct. Remaining how many chocolates are there? 18. That 18 also I am just randomly giving. Randomly, I don't know to whom I will throw from here. Those who are getting that data, they can keep it with you. Likewise, I am randomly giving. So how many data I totally distributed? 50. The data which you are holding in your hand is not, if you are changing the data, like if you are eating that chocolate also, it will not affect any other person. Correct? Because the chocolates are private to you. Getting my point? Chocolates are private to you. Because I given to you, you are holding the data. You can eat the chocolates, or you can hold the chocolate with you. Getting my point? So whatever changes you are making, it will not affect any other person. Correct or no? Understanding? But the chocolate I kept here. How many chocolates are there? 50. If I am taking 10 chocolates from this container, will that affect to any of you? Because for everyone, this data is common, right? This is not private to any of the object. Correct? You can consider you all are objects. This is class. So I kept one container of item here. This item is shared among everyone. So whoever changes this data will reflect to everyone. Any doubts? Clear, right? So whatever changes happening here will be reflected for everyone. For everyone the change is same, because this is public item. This is not private data. Whatever private data, whatever changes you are making in your private data will not affect another object. But in static content, if I am changing something, it will affect all the objects. Getting my point? That is the difference between static content and non-static. It is considering as a class item, and the static items are considering as a class item, and non-static items are considering as object items. It will be created inside the object. Is that clear? Any doubt? Okay. So that is about static, and we have some different type of static items. Static block is there. Static variable. Variable is actually what we discussed. Correct? Then static method. So in these two items, static variables and static methods are working as what I explained right now. Because these two items will be considering as class items, And whenever I am calling that class, like how can I call these static items? These two, I have static variables and static methods in a class. How can I call that static variable or static method to perform some logic? Class name dot method name or variable name, then only I can use it. That is what we see already discussed, right? Getting my point? So you can relate this same thing to math dot any method, right? Math is a class in Java. How many of you used math class? MATH, math class. For what you used that math class? Finding power, then pi value, then square root. Okay, so lot of mathematical operations are available, right, as different methods. Absolute value, correct? So all that methods we are calling using math dot. What is math? Math is the class name, and class name dot we are calling the method. Why? Can you tell me why we are calling that method in that way? All the methods are static. That is why we are calling math dot method name. We can take the same example in scanner class. Can we use scanner? Where is that main class? Okay. Can I use scanner dot next int? Can I use scanner dot next int? Why I cannot use scanner dot next int? It is a, see, right now you have to say what is the, why I am not getting that access here. Because scanner is next int is what? Non-static element. Non-static element means it will create only when an object is created. Even though it is inside the class, I cannot call that in this way because it is not a static content, it is an non-static or object content, object item. Any doubt? So I cannot use scanner dot next int. I have to create the object, correct? Object I have to create, then using that object I can call next int. Any doubt? Is this item clear? Static item clear? Any doubt? Then, so variables and methods, I think you are understanding, right? Only one thing we have to learn is block, static block. That is also one different topic. So we will go to one of our class. So I created the class here. I will create toString also. So how can I auto generate toString? Any idea? Same source. Generate toString. Select all the variables you required. So toString method is generated. Why it is showing override? What is the meaning of override? Can you read that message, anyone? Louder, louder. Indicates that a method declaration is you will not understand this clearly right now because we don't know what is inheritance. Because like this method, toString method is already there in another superclass. Superclass, subclass or parent class, child class. That concept is coming in inheritance. So from one class I can use that item data member in another class by using inheritance. We will discuss that later. So right now I will give you one idea for all the classes in Java. For all the classes that we are creating or predefined classes, for all the classes we have one superclass. Getting my point? Object is a class. This is a class which is there in predefined in Java, and it is considering as a superclass for all the classes that we are creating or it is already predefined in Java. So in that we have toString method. Getting my point? So that is override. So you can see override here. If you are under whenever you are seeing override, that means we are taking this method from a superclass. From there we are taking and implementing here. Getting my point? From there we are taking that and implementing in this portion in our class. So toString of our class is this only. This will perform. toString of our, which class is this? User, right? So toString of this class will be this method, toString method. If you are not understanding, leave the idea about this one. We will discuss that later. So what is toString? See, automatically I moved to that object class. Can you see the name of this? What is this name? This is what I am actually explaining. Object dot class means what? We know object dot Java. What is object? Like we know anything with the Java, dot Java. What is dot Java? Extension of what? Java file. And in the first class we discussed how Java is converting that into machine learning, converting the file into machine learning, right? How the data is converting? Forget. Yes, how it is converting? It will compile. After compiling, we will create a file. What is that file? Dot class file or bytecode file. This is that dot class file. So this is the dot class file of object class. You can see object here, correct? You don't have to open these things. By default it came into this page, so I am just explaining, giving that idea. Whatever idea I was giving is this. All the items, all the classes that we are creating in Java is considering as subclass of this object class. Subclass of object class. We will discuss what is subclass, superclass, all those things. That is why we can see the override option here, because this is also considering as we are taking from a superclass and implementing here. Fine. Getting the idea? So this is how we can auto generate toString. Go to source, generate toString. We will get that toString also. We don't have to write toString also, right? So how much time you will take to complete your model class creation? Only you have to do is what? Create the variable. Then you can auto generate constructor. You can auto generate toString. Then we can also create different methods, right? Different methods I can create here. I already given you two methods, right? Two tasks. What are the methods that you have to create in this portion? Okay. Any doubt in this? Yes or no? Okay. So, static block. Come back to the point, static block. I am creating a static block. So, syntax is just static and block. And if I am doing any operation, I am just giving here a message. This is static block of user class. Fine. I can do any operation here, anything. Right now I am giving one print message. This is static block of user class. Any doubt? Static block I created. Static variable and static method you are understanding, right? Static method anyway we know, because first module full we used the static methods. Static variable means what? In front of this data type we will add static also. That's it. Correct. So static block. What is static block? Any idea what will happen with the static block? Just now I am giving only one message inside this static block, and I will try to run the program in main class. So here I will use user equal to new user, then parameterized constructor is there, right? Parameterized constructor. So okay, I will create default constructor also. How can I create default constructor? Using auto generation. You don't have to create, you can create that. You can just type user here, control space, parameterized, like default constructor is also created. In that way also you can create. Getting my point? Type user, control space, it will create the default constructor. Here also you can come here to constructor using field. You can deselect all the option, generate. What you are creating actually, this we will discuss later. Super we will discuss later. So what you are creating actually, default constructor. From here also I removed super. How many of you realized? From here also I removed super. We will discuss super later. So default constructor also there. So I can create whatever changes I am making. I have to save this file. Then I can create the object in this way right now. Correct? Correct. I have default constructor and also parameterized constructor. So I can keep in this way, right? Any doubt? Yes or no? Okay. So can I print the data right here? ToString is already there, right? ToString is there or not? So can I print the data here? User, object. Can I print the object? What will I get? What will I get? Default values of correct fields. Correct. For all the fields, default value will print here. So what we are getting? What we are getting here? What is this? Why we are getting this message? We are not calling this one, right? Why? Static block will perform first, even before the main method. If I am using main method also inside the same file, if I am trying to run some code, static block will perform first. It have the priority. That's it. If there is a static block, that will perform first, even before the main method. Getting my point? So here you can see I have used the reference of class. I have used the reference of this class, user class. If I am using the reference of this user class, I will get the static block. Static block will automatically perform. Understanding what is static block right now? Static block, static variable, static methods. 3 items. Any doubt? What is static content? What is static content? Louder, come on. It is class content, right? So what is the difference between static content and non-static content? But don't say in that, like, don't stop your answer in one word. Static contents are reside inside the class. Then what is object? Non-static contents are created inside the object. Correct. Every time it will create a copy of all the items inside the object. Correct. One object is created. Even if we are creating another object, all the non-static item will be created in that object also. That is why we are saying the items are private to the object. Correct. Static items are public to the object. Why? Because whatever changes happening, it will reflect everyone as same. Correct. If 100 chocolates are there, you all can, like, if everyone is looking here, you can see 100 chocolate, right? If 50 chocolates are there, then everyone is seeing same item only, because this content is shared among everyone. This is not private to any of you. That is the difference. Any doubt? Is that clear? So what we have discussed. These points you can expect in your interview. That is why I am giving this in this clear way. Louder, louder. Static block is nothing. We can create static block in this way. So if I am using the reference of this class, what is the class name? If I am using the reference of this user in anywhere, then this block will execute first. That's it. If I am using, there is only one condition. If I am using the class name, then that particular static block will execute first, then only remaining things will start execution. Any doubt? Understanding or not? So static variable, static method. Any doubt in that? Two items? No. So are you understanding what is the difference between object and variable? Static and non-static. So you have to create, every time in blueprint we will create non-static items, because our focus will be on creating the object and performing the logic. If I have to do same operation with all the object, like here we are finding age, here we are checking the age and finding the elder user. So it is not performing inside one object, right? It is performing on a collection of object. That is why I said create that as a static content. Understanding the difference? Understanding the difference? It is not performing inside one object. I am not checking all, I cannot check all the users' age inside one object, because it is stored in different objects, right? So this collection of, on this collection of object I am checking something. So that is why I said to create that as static item. Clear? If some operation we are performing inside the object, then non-static, because I can create that as a non-static item inside the object. Correct? Any doubt in this ideas? Yes. Objects. Okay. No, static method and static variable is different. Static block is different. Static block will execute first, but static variable and method will work as different. Getting my point? It will not perform first. Only that is why I said static variable and block, static variable and method I explained together, right? But static block I explained as different one. So static block, if there is a static block inside our class, that will execute first. It is not about variable and method. It is just the static block that will execute first inside the class, if the class reference is there. But static variable and static method will not perform first. I have to call the method, then only it will perform. Without calling, static block will execute. That is the difference. Are you understanding that difference? Static block is different, static method and static variable is different. Working is different, I am saying. Okay. Any other doubts? So what we have discussed from the beginning of today, compare, make it clear, difference between variables and object, or declaration of object and initialization of object, or we can say parameterized constructor and default constructor, right? If I have to initialize an object later, but I have to create the object right now, which constructor I can use? If I have to initialize the object later, but I have to create the object right now, default constructor. Initialization and object creation I have to do together, parameterized constructor. Simple, right? That are the things we discussed today. Then string, that comparison, right? We can compare, we can create string variables and also we can create string objects. Can I compare string variables and string objects using equal to? So when we are what we are doing with equal to, what is the comparison happening? We are comparing memory location. If I have to compare the values, then dot equals. That is same for variables and object. We can use dot equals. Equal to we cannot use everywhere. We can use equal to only for variables. That is why we are using equal to for all the primitive type data. For all the primitive type data, there is no object concept, right? Getting my point? For all the primitive type data, there is no class object concept. Int is not a class. Int is not a class. Float is not a class. Starting with a small letter and it is red color, right? Keywords. Getting my point? So on that items I can use equal to because that all are variables. But string is not a variable, not just a data type. It is also a non-primitive data type. Non-primitive data type, and also we can say it is a class. Correct. Class can create object. Using class we can create object. So object I cannot compare the memory location of two objects. Correct. Anyway that will be different than why I am comparing. Correct. New keyword, because of new keyword we will create that as a different object with different memory location. So I cannot compare that. Any doubt in the things we discussed till now from the beginning of today? No? When you have to mark the attendance? 20. One more minute. Okay. So what is the difference between static method and non-static method? Okay, object dot we are using to access it, right? For accessing, how we can access static methods? Class name dot method name. For accessing non-static method, object name dot, that is for accessing, right? Object name dot method name for non-static. But my question is declaration. What is the difference in declaration of static and non-static method? Static keyword is the only one difference, right? If I am using static keyword, that method will become static method. So if a method is static method, I can access that only by using the class name. Correct. If a method is non-static, I have to create the object and then only I can access the method. Why the difference is coming? Because static items are static methods or static variables are class data items, class items. Non-static methods or non-static variables are what? Object data items. That is why we can only access that, or non-static items I can only access through object. Static items I can only access through class. Any doubt? Any other doubts you have? If you have any other doubts, you can ask right now. Any other doubts? Clear? So what is next? I like yesterday I said we will discuss something today, right? What is that? Access modifier. Okay. So I already given today's task, right? Today's 2 tasks I given that you have to do after going back. So right now we will start with the next topic. What is that? Access modifier. So what I will do is I will create a new package. So I created a package and class. What is the package name? Okay, I created the class. Here, how many access modifiers are there? Any idea? I already said you have to search. What are the access modifiers? Public. Okay. Public, private, protected, default. Okay. Public, private, protected, default. These are the 4 access modifier. What is mean by access modifier? Public I already explained in first module, right? What is the use of public? Public data items can be accessed from anywhere from the project. Okay. So we will discuss about public. So how can I create a public variable inside the class? Public. Static is not required. Public, then data type, number I am creating. This is what? This is what? Can you define what is this selected item? What is the variable name? Number. Number is a type of instance variable, right? Is that a static or non-static item? Non-static. That means object variable, right? So public int object variable. Correct? Public int number. Then what is the next item? Okay, private. That also I am taking int. So this I will keep as 1. Number 2. So what is this item? Private int number 2. Then what is next? Protected int number 3. Then default. How can I create a default variable? Can I use default like this? Int number 4. What is the error? What is the error? Default means I don't have to specify any keyword. If I am not specifying, see, all these 3 items are different, right? With that data, like that keyword. Using that keyword, we can differ all these 3. If all these 3 are like, if I am not using any of these 3 keyword, that means that item is default. If I am not using any of this keyword, that means what? It will be default. So I don't have to specify any keyword here for default variable. So can you tell me what kind of variable we created here? Default variables. Correct? Getting my point? So how many datas are there? 4. Each data have different access modifiers. Correct? Okay. So this is the blueprint class. You can consider this is our blueprint class. So I will create another class in the same package. What is the name I given? Different class in, correct, right? In the same package I given created another class. This is the first class. In that class we have 4 data. I created another class in the same package, correct? Any doubt? Then how can I use that data items? How can I create an object of that first class? So first we have to create main. Then what is the class name? Access modifier demo. Then okay, then how can I access the variables of that object? All are object variables, right? All are object variable. How we can say object variables? This is object variables because it is non-static. Fine. Let's go back to our, save this and let's go back to our method implementation. Here, how can I access all the data? I have to give some value, store some value into that. How can I access? A dot number 1 equal to I'm saying 10. Then A dot number 2. What happened to number 2? Can you see number 2 here? Private means what? Private means what? That variable will be accessible only inside the same class. So outside the class I cannot access that private variable. So access modifiers means what? We are giving different levels of access to the variable. Here we saw public, private, protected, default. So private, we can see private here, that if I am trying to access the private element from outside the class, which is not possible because there is no access of it because it is private to that particular class. Private means what? The data item will be private to that class. I cannot access that from outside the current class. So can I access private anywhere from the project other than this class? From outside this class I cannot access. From outside I cannot access this private data. Private data can be accessible only inside this particular class. Any doubt? So that is private. Note down. Private access modifier is this. Private data is restricted inside that particular class. Access of private is restricted outside the class. It is only inside, available only inside the same class. So number 2 I cannot access. Can I access number 3? Can I access number 4? Yes. Fine. Any doubt here? We discussed about one access modifier, private. Any doubt in this? Yes or no? So you can create a chart. We have public, protected, default, and private. Right. Private is only accessible inside the same class. Fine, that you can note down. Then what about remaining 3? So I don't have to again create another class in the same package, right? Correct. Do I have to create another class in the same package? Listen here carefully. Where is this class? That class is in the same package. Do I have to create again another class in the same package to identify whether it is working with different classes or not? Because same thing only, right? If I am creating another class, it is also creating inside the same package. So I can say one thing, all these three are available in the same package. Correct? Private is not accessible outside the class, but protected, default and public. These three items are accessible inside the same package. Any doubt? Inside the same package, how many classes I am creating, in that all classes I can access all these three. Protected data, default data and public data. These three access modifier data I can access in same package. Okay, so I will create another package. Correct. We can create another package and test what is happening there. So how can I create another package? Other package I am naming. Okay, other package, class name, okay, access modifiers 2 I am giving, or access modifier demo 2. So I have created other package. Can you see other package here? This selected one. Correct. I have created one class also, and this is our access modifier package. Can you see the screen? Is that visible there? I think it is too small, but hope you can understand. So access modifiers, because this we cannot increase, right? The size we cannot increase. So access modifiers you can see, right? In that we have created access modifier demo class. We have created one more package. What is that? Other package. All the other packages are actually different package only, right? I created a new package. In that I created one class. What is the class name? Access modifier demo 2. Fine, this is the class. Correct. Here I will create the main. What we are trying to do, we are trying to find out whether the data is accessible or not from different portions of the project actually. Correct. So how can I create which object I have to create here? Which object I have to create? Access modifier demo. From where we are accessing that? Correct. So if I am trying to access a class from another package, I have to write import statement. If I am trying to access a class from another package, then I have to access, like I have to give the import statement. So in this from this package I am taking this class. That is what we are actually doing in java.util.package, because that is there in our library. From that library I have to import that class. So here also we are doing the same thing, because our classes are there in different package. Fine. Then how can I create the object? I can give anything. I'm just giving one name, that's it. So I given the constructor. I created the object, right? I have to initialize the values inside A2. How many values are available? How many values you can see here? Louder. What is this value actually? Public. Why we are not able to access protected and default? protect and default is, so this is same class, correct? This is same package, good. Then what, this one same package, but there is a difference also. That difference you have to find out, because I will discuss the difference in inheritance, not now. So there is a difference between protected and default that you have to figure out now. Find out that from Google now, but I will explain that in inheritance. What about public? Same project, all over from the project. So these are the 4 different access modifiers. Getting my point? So before giving the access modifier to the variable, you have to find, like you have to think, what is the purpose? Do I have to give the access of variable to everywhere from anywhere from the project? Then I have to use public. Correct. If I have to restrict the access inside the package, then I have to use private. No, package I said, right? Protected or default. If I have to restrict the access of data within the class, I don't have to give the access outside, from outside the class, then private. So in that way we can give the access to the items inside the class, all the items inside the class. So there is a difference between these 2 items that you can figure out now. You can search in Google what is the difference between protected and default. I will explain that later. Yes, that I will explain later. What is the doubt? Private. Okay. Correct. Yes, but what is child class, what is super class, that we have to learn first. Then only we can understand what is the difference between protected and default. So right now you can search for it, find out the reason, we will connect that later. Getting my point? Any doubt in access modifiers? It is a simple thing, right? Public access modifier means what? We are giving access as project level. Project level access we are giving. From the project, from anywhere from the project I can access it. Then what about this one, protected? Package level. Then what about private? Class level. So but if anyone asking you what is access modifier, don't tell them directly project level, package level, class level. I am always saying this thing, right? Don't stop your answer with one word. Make that idea clear to, like, interviewer is asking this question not to learn from you, right? Even though you have to give your idea clearly to them. So any doubt in this access modifiers? Any doubts? What is private access modifier? I can use this access modifier, all these access modifier I can use with all the data members. All the data members means actually in a class how many data members will be there? Data members, as data members we will consider variables and methods. Data members as we will consider only variables and methods. All other this constructor or toString, these items are there, right? That is actually helper items, correct? To help our object to initialize, we are using constructor. To help our object to print the value, we are using toString, correct? Understanding? So that is not actually data members. Data members is what? our attribute and behavior. Attribute is variables. Behavior we will consider as methods. Getting my point? So that is data members. So all these 4 items, 4 access modifiers I can use for any data members. Any data members of a class. So any doubt in this? So from now, when we are creating blueprint class, we will only use private variables. Instance variables will be private. From now, whenever we are creating a blueprint class, we will create that instance variables as private inside the blueprint class. It is actually for protection, security, because we are not giving the access out from outside the class. I cannot access the variable. Correct. Then if I have to get the value for from any other class, if I have to get the value of this object, how can I get the value? Because it is actually private about the object, like private inside the object, right? I cannot access the variable from outside the class. Then how will I use it? How can I get the value of the variable? Access to the variable is restricted. From outside the class, access to the variable is restricted. But for some operation we require data, right? How can I use the data in our project? Data we have to use anyway, even if the variable is private or any other. We have to use data for our project, right? So how we will use the project that data? See, we have created user. Correct. Whenever I am creating a blueprint class, I will create the instance variables as private. All the data variables are private here, right? So right now toString method is also there. Yes. So what I will do is, from my main class I will create a default constructor. Then can I initialize the values? Can I initialize the value? How can I initialize the value? Can I access the variables from outside the class? All the variables are private. Can I access that from outside? Then how will I initialize right now? Understanding the situation? By default we will create the variables as private because we don't have to give the access to the variable. Getting my point? To the variable we are not going to give the access. But here I have to give the value, assign the value, or if I have to print the value, how can I use? For printing the value, actually I can use user itself. Correct, because toString method is there. So user will print whatever there in toString method. Getting my point? This is object, right? If I am accessing object, toString method will automatically call and it will print. Correct. So toString method will work because that is inside the class, same class. But how will I initialize the value here like this? .id is not coming because ID is a private data. Visibility is not there. Package visibility is not there for ID. ID is private there. So what technique I can use to access the value, not the variable? Variable access is restricted, but at least the value I have to take or value I have to give. Giving and taking value. For that operation, how can I implement? What technique I can use? Understanding the situation? Everyone? So I have to get the value of the variable. I cannot get the access to the variable. Variable access is restricted as private. But value I have to get, or I have to give the value to the variable. So even if variable I am not accessing, I have to give the value. I have to take the value. For that one mechanism is required. What is that? Any idea? What are the things I said I will discuss today? Yes. Okay. So what I will do is, I am going to write a method here. I am going to create a method, normal method I am going to create here. Okay. To give a value from main method to this variable. Constructor anyway we are using, correct? For what we are using constructor? Creating an initialization. Initialization is also there. But if I don't have all the data, I cannot use the parameterized constructor. At that time, one by one I have to add the data, right? So here I have to implement that method, one method which will help us to initialize all the data. Initialize all the data one by one. One method. So method syntax is what? Public. Static we will not use. Only if it is required we will use it. So here, because this is about one object, I am going to give one value to a variable. Where is variable? Variable is inside the object. So if I am going to perform any operation inside the object, my data member will be static or non-static? Non-static. So here I am going to initialize one data to the variable. Data I will transfer from using a method. That method should update the data here in the variable. So how can I write that definition here? Think about this method. One method I am creating which will take the data from main method. It will take the data from, taking the data means what? We will call the method using a value. That value will come here to this method, and this method will initialize that to our variable. So how many things, how can I create that definition here? Return type is required. Is this method, like, do we require return type for this method? No, right? Because we are not taking anything back. We are giving something, and that something should be updated in the variable. So return type is good. Then we can give a name. I will give set first data is id. So this method name I am using is set id. I am going to initialize the id. So set id. Any data are required from main method here to set the data or to initialize the data. Do you require any data from main method? Yes or no? What variable? What variable? Like, what is the use of this method? I will take a value, this method will take a value from user, and that value will be initialized to the variable. So, do you require any value? That is the question. We require a value, right? So, what is the data type of that value? We are going to store id. What is the data type of id? That data type we have to take from user, right? Int id. Then where I should store id? This data is coming from user. This value where I should add? Correct. id equal to id. Can I do like that? No. Then what is the change? This dot id. Any doubt? This is called setter method in Java. Setter method. We are setting the value. So in the same way, how can I set all the values one by one? Tell me another one. Public void set name. What data is required? String name. So name will be added, given from user, that where we will update This dot name equal to name. Any doubt? So setter method you are understanding how to create, right? Then this method is actually giving the, like we are taking the value from user is passing one value that we are updating. Then another mechanism is also there. We have to take the value from variable. So we can use, how can I write a get method? What is first think about what is the use of get method. So get method means what? We have a data in variable. We don't have access to that variable, but using this method I have to get the value of the variable. Correct? Value of the variable. So how can I make that get method here? Get ID. How can I create get ID method? Public y int. We are taking the value from our object and we are passing that into main method. Getting my point? So return type is integer. Why integer? Because ID, get ID we are going to use. Get ID. Then any data required from user here? Yes or no? No, right? We don't require any data from user. We can, if user is accessing get ID, we will give the ID. Correct? Then return ID. Because this ID is what? You can see the blue color. What is this? Instance variable. This data will be transferred into the method, like main method, where this get ID is calling. So this is getter method. Getter setter method in Java. What is the use of getter setter method in Java? Where we will use getter setter method? In the case of private, the variables are not accessible outside the class. So why we are using it? To access the values of private variable. Getter and setter. Why we are using getter? To get the value from the variable, instance variable or object variable. Why we are using setter? Where we will use setter? To get to initialize. Reinitialization is also possible, right? Initializing or reinitializing, we can use setter method. So user can give the value, that value will be updated in the variable. Variable access is restricted, but using getter setter method I can access the value. Because in project we have to use the value, right? To update and anything, updation or creation, any, like we require the data. So that is why we are using getter setter. And where it is important, for private data members, it is really important that we have to use getter setter. There is no other option to retrieve the data, right? If a data item is private, I cannot take the value from any, there is no other option to take the value. We have to use this getter setter method. Any doubts? Any doubts? So, are you understanding the syntax of getter setter method? Syntax of getter setter method. Are you understanding why we are giving return statement here and why we are not using data type here, return data type here? Understanding the difference? Setter method means what? We will take the value from user and we will assign to the instance variable. Getter method means what? We will give the value of our instance variable to the user. Correct? So that is why we are not taking any data here in this parenthesis and return statement is using. Here we are taking the data from user and we are not using any return statement. Any doubt in this? Clear? So if you are understanding the syntax of getter setter method, then you don't have to write the code. You can just come here, source, generate getter setter, select whatever data you have to generate. All the data are generated. But you have to know what is the syntax difference. That is why I explained. setter method is using for what, getter method is using for what is the syntax difference, why we are using that syntax. These items you have to know. That is why I explained in that way. Any doubt in this? So all the getter methods are here and all the setter methods are here. Any doubt in this? Any doubts? So in this blueprint class, how many things we discussed in this blueprint class? First we discussed about, no, not today, in the blueprint class, inside blueprint class, how many things we discussed? First we discussed about variables, attribute or variable, instance variables. Then constructor. Why we are using constructor? To create and initializing the values to the object. That is important, not to the class variable. These are not class variables. Then toString we discussed. Why we are using toString? To get the all the values about the object. To get all the values about the object. All the details about the object. Then next one, this keyword along with the constructor. What is the use of this keyword? To point the current class instance. Then after that, inside this blueprint class, after this keyword, parameterized default constructor that we discussed. Then access modifier. How many access modifiers are there? 4. Any doubt in access modifier? No. When we have to use getter setter method? When our data variables are or instance variables are private, I cannot access that variable. To get or set the values to that instance variable, I can use getter setter method. Are you understanding the syntax of getter setter method? Any doubts? So these are the things we discussed, right? So this is all about encapsulation in OOP concept. Object oriented programming, the very first concept is encapsulation. What is mean by encapsulation? Wrapping up all the data into one single unit. Here the single unit is what? User is our single unit. We are adding all the information about object inside the class. All the details about this object that we are wrapping inside one class. So this is called encapsulation of OOP concept. What is OOP? Object oriented programming. So all the details about the object we are creating inside one unit. That unit is called class. Getting my point? So encapsulation is done. This is encapsulation in object oriented programming. It is not OOPS, it is OOP. Object oriented programming. From where that S is coming, I don't know. Object oriented programming, first concept is encapsulation. What is the meaning? Meaning of encapsulation is what? Binding all the data into one single unit. So all the data about this one user object is included inside this or enclosed inside this class. Any doubt? So this is called encapsulation. If your interviewer is asking what is encapsulation, don't stop by saying binding up all the data into one single unit is encapsulation, because you know these many things, right? How many things you know about encapsulation right now? How many things are helping you to achieve that encapsulation? Come on, tell me. Constructors. First you have to start from variable. Instance variables, constructors, toString, Getter setter methods, normal methods also we can create. Correct. All these things I am encapsulate, like I am binding inside the same one unit, that is class. So what is the homework I given yesterday? So have you taken this? Note down this one because this is today's work. Note down this one. This is today's work. So what is the homework I given yesterday? Books. Book class, right? So how many attributes I given? Title. One by one. Author. Publisher. Price. Only 4, right? Okay. So how can I create this in our Eclipse? We have to create a blueprint class. Book is our blueprint. So inside book, how many attributes or how many instance variables I have to create? What are the instance variables and type? String, title. Title is also name, right? Title, then. Sorry. So I already said we have to create that as private. Then next one. Private. What is next? String. Author. Then private. String. Everything is private. Not publication. Publisher. Then private. Float. Price. Fine. Right. After this, what are the things we have to do? What we have to create? Constructor. So parameterized constructor is ready. Then how can I create default constructor? Deselect all, generate. Correct? Default constructor is also ready. Then what we have to create next? ToString, where I have to create. Every time you have to select the portion where to keep the constructor or ToString, any data items. So ToString. ToString is also created. Then what is next? All the data items are private. So what I have to create next? Getter setter. That also I am creating. How much time it will take for creating blueprint class? That's it. So we can save this file. We can move to the blueprint. Like we have to use this blueprint class, right? We have to create the object. Where we will create the object? In main method. So we have to create a class with name, book name, book main, book main. Here main method. How can I create an object of book? Book object. So if you are taking from user side, then how many things you have to implement? Scanner. So I have to import scanner. Import, then scanner. Okay, new. I forgot to keep new. So scanner object is created, then enter the number of books. Correct. We will take int size equal to ssc dot next int. Then what is next? We have to create the array of book, right? Then only I can create a number of books and store it. So how can I create array of book? Class name bracket. No. Which blueprint, like blueprint class, we are creating object for book, right? Not book main. Book main is for implementing it. Book is our blueprint class. So book, then books. Correct. Number of books are there. Then new book size. Any doubt in this? So we are creating object of string, like object of book array. Array of books we are creating. Correct. Because we have to store n number of books. User is going to create n number of books. That books I will store in this individual elements of this array. Then what I should do here? I can start taking the books from user, right? So for int I equal to 0, I less than books dot length, good. Then I plus plus, then sys out what? Enter the title. Enter the title. So how can I take the title here? String title equal to ssc dot next line. Okay, then 1 second. Yes, then again system dot out dot println enter the name of author. Then author equal to what? Again next line. What is next? Name of publisher. What is the okay? What change we have to make here? Publisher. Then what is next? Last one. Enter the price. Int price equal to ssc dot next. Okay, price is what? Float. Price is actually float, right? We took float inside our book blueprint class. Price is float, so I have to take float only here. Next float. We took all the required information, right? Then using this information, what I have to do? Create object of book. Be equal to new book of. Do I have constructor? Do I have parameterized constructor in book? No. We created all the required things, right? So do we know the order? Order is actually the same as this order, variable order. So I can also check the order here. while creating the object. Here I can come and use this control space. Can you see the order here? First one is title, author, publisher, price. So give me one book name. Louder. We will focus on our programming. Okay, then publisher, author name, publisher. I am giving my name, simple. Publisher. Acha, okay. Price. Okay. So I have created one data, right? This is not the way I have to create here, because we are taking the value from user. What we have to give here? Title, comma, author, comma, publisher, price. Because we are taking that from user actually. From this point, this selected portion, we are taking all the data from user and we are adding that items into this constructor. So it will create a book object, right? Where will I store this book object? So how can I access array? Books of I equal to B. So every time we will create a new object and we will add that into the array. Same thing, whatever we did yesterday, right? Then in this way we will create all the object. How can I print all the details about the object? For you are going to print all the details, right? Are you going to use toString method? Then we can go for each loop. No need of using index position. So how can I use for each loop here? What is data type? What is object data type? User, book. Then I am taking B. Then collection, books. Correct? Then inside this sysout B. This B and this B is different. I don't know how to explain it again, right? This is inside for loop. This is inside this for each loop. Both variables are different. So what I will get here? Whatever objects are creating by user, that it will print here. Correct? So I can do any operations in this portion also on that items. Any doubt in this creation of this application? We are creating an application for creating the books, right? This is an application for creating different objects of books. Correct? So any doubt in this? This is what we did yesterday also. How many of you have completed this book program? Those who have not completed, can you please raise your hands? What happened? You have not attended yesterday's class. Okay. So you will not do that.